You guys had to have armed security because somebody broke into your house.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Yeah, I had multiple. I had a lot of different people trying to break into the house the days after it happened.
The nastiness of the OU exit. Caitlin got emotional on the phone talking about how the hardest part for her was just watching people assassinate your character. What was most difficult for you to take?
I live in that world a little bit more. Certainly there were some extremes there. I always feel like the truth will come to light. And I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes, but I know who I am too. And that of all the stuff that happened, that got to me the least. You kind of grow thick skin. Some of it's the way the game has changed. The timelines now with recruiting, early signing period, transfer portal, you take the same situation 10 years earlier. Number one, you don't have to do it the day after the last game of the season because there's time. There's not a sense of urgency on, oh, well, there's a signing class or there's this transfer portal. And then as far as with the players and players that come with you, it's a difficult decision. I mean, it's like you put yourself in the position of, do I want players to leave the place that I was at? Absolutely not. And one of the things I told the players when I stood up there is I think every one of you should stay here and do it. And we actually, behind the scenes, people probably wouldn't believe it now, we helped keep a lot of players there that are still there. But if you have a player that you recruited, knew their family, you've been in there with, and he says, Coach, I want to go with you. Do you say no? Do you like say, oh, you were good enough to come with me to this place, but now I won't take you here? Like it's not easy. And on top of it, I think the weight of all the people that decision affected, right? The players at OU, the players at USC, all of the staff members, whether they're the ones that came out here with us or went to a different spot or stayed at OU, their families, their kids. Like, I mean, you're feeling just the weight of all that, because that is unless you've been in that position, like I can't even really describe what that feels like. And the move was, in this day and age, a little bit unprecedented. So I didn't have like a great roadmap to go off of in terms of how do you do this. I felt some of the backlash, and I said some things through it that added to it. I responded. I shot back a few times, and I shouldn't have. And
but not as severe as one would think based on some of what was coming your guys' way.
Yeah, but I'm the coach. It's my job. I'm not a fan, and I could have done better. They're like, there's no question about it.
How so?
Just by, I think, just staying away from some of the things that I said or some of the topics that I got into because I was emotional and angry about some of the things that were happening, and not even as much the things they were saying about me, but just some of the things that happened to the staff that we had there and their families. I let it get to me. There were better ways to handle it than me firing back something in the media or in an interview, that added to it. But I told my wife and the couple of people I confided in the night we made the decision, I told them it's going to be bad, and a couple of people were like, well, it'll be a few hours, few days, it'll blow by. And I said, no, y'all don't. I've lived in these shoes. Like, it's going to be bad.
When do you actually make the decision?
9, 10 in the morning that day. But we were sitting there.
This is after the season.
Yeah, after the last game. And we got home and had the talk with USC and had a long talk about it all through the night, didn't sleep any.
It's crazy how that works though too, because presumably, it's not as if your agent talks to them the first time the day after, so there are conversations that are taking place, but how little time then there actually is to decide. Why does it work that way?
Yeah, I had 8 hours, and you understand it from the school's perspective. In this case, their job had been open for months. Would I have wanted to have longer? Yeah, absolutely. I'm thankful I got to tell the team. I'm thankful I got to tell our AD. But there's more people I would have liked to have talked to in person and had more time and had more time to think about it. It wouldn't have changed my decision, but it would have, it would have probably helped the exit.
A couple things that I just wanted to ask you about just based on the conversation with Caitlin. She told me that you guys had to have armed security because somebody broke into your house.
Yeah.
What happened there?
Yeah, I had multiple. They had a lot of different people trying to break into the house the days after it happened. And 95% of the fans and people out there at Oklahoma or anybody else are great. But you typically always have that percentage that at times take it too far. Obviously, this was one of those instances.
I heard you got packages and then they got your 9-year-old's number. What was the scariest part for you?
Yeah, just my family's safety. I didn't care about the house. I didn't care about anything else, just their safety. And we thought we were because we wanted the girls to be able to finish out school, because the semester was almost over. And as that stuff transpired, we said, no, we got to get them the hell out of here as fast as we can.
You also, though, had people who you respected, who would say one thing to you privately, who would then go out publicly and say something completely different.
I guess on the emotional side of it, past my family, the toughest thing for me was the relationships that you had built that you thought maybe at some point went past you just being the football coach there, and you realize did not go past that. So, but it's part of what we do. Nobody's shedding a tear for us. We get to experience some things a lot of people don't, and that's a little bit of the price we pay.
Explain kind of the regaining of the anonymity that you had lost.
It's been one of the just best parts of this job, especially having young children. I was extremely conscious, and at times probably overconscious of my first run as a head coach, of kind of always being in that public eye. I got to where I wouldn't go out to eat.
The other day, he was coming home from the office and he said, "Do you want to go to Trader Joe's?" And I said, "Okay, let's go." Just wanted to get out and go to the grocery store. And
but that
he loves
floored you.
It floored me that was just something that he wanted to do. That was nothing that we would do before. He loves what he does, absolutely to his core. But there's a part that just wants to go get gas and go to the grocery store.
I love coaching. I love all the things I get to do. I don't like the not your celebrity, but that part of it, right? I've always been a little uncomfortable with that part of it, and that was a huge selling point for me here was, we're not the only show in town. And there's a great article that somebody sent me right before I took this, and I remember reading it when it came out. They interviewed the head coaches at major schools at the time, and it was like, what do you do when you have time to get away? They get to Pete Carroll. That's when Pete was here, and Pete said, well, I don't have to go anywhere. I can go out to eat that night and nobody even cares if I'm in there because they're looking over at George Clooney and that person from Friends. He said, when you coach in the small college town at a major deal, you are George Clooney or the person from Friends. The advantages here for a coach, especially a coach that has young children, fit us. And I think I'm more relaxed. I think life outside of the office is been much more normal here, and because of that, I think more normal for our children, which is most important.
Because it gives the children more of an opportunity to kind of flourish outside of being Lincoln Riley's kids.
Yeah, I remember we would go on vacation, go to a restaurant, and I'd be looking at them like, do they not even know how to behave in a restaurant? Caitlin would look at me like, we don't ever go to restaurants. Like, how do you want them to know? And kind of hit me. It's like, all right, yeah, now I'm holding back, and that's like stunning them in some way, and that's obviously not a good thing.
How have you seen it impact the kids?
I think they see me more relaxed. I think they're very happy. I think they don't feel like they have to live different than their friends, and that's everything to me.